The Trump administration is letting Qatar build an Air Force base in Idaho. That is a remarkable thing. And just a few days ago, they announced a security guarantee to Qatar, essentially guaranteeing their security as if they were France or England. I don't think that's in our national interest. And I'm going to point out two things. One is Qatar has been financing terrorism across the Middle East, literally. They financed al-Nusra Front in Syria, ISIS, and have provided material support to Hamas. I don't think that's consistent with American values. Two, we need to spend less time getting entangled in the Middle East. That's how we find ourselves in forever wars. And three, Qatar gave Trump a really nice plane. At the beginning of this administration, they gave him a Boeing 747 jet, about $400 million worth. And that jet's going to be transferred from the U.S. government to his presidential library at the end of his presidency. The quid pro quo is obvious. And now we're playing around with American security. I think that's bad. I think we deserve better.
This conservative Christian wife in Idaho is finding out the hard way. Stephanie Shaw grew up believing in strong borders and the rule of law. She built a life with her husband Banad, a refugee from Bhutan. Together, they own an auto shop, went to church, and had a baby. Banad had a past criminal record, but he had served his time. His parole officer praised his reform, and he was a valued member of their deeply Republican town. Can you see where this is going? When Trump returned to office and expanded deportations, Banad was ordered to report to ICE. Stephanie, relying on her faith in the system, drove him there herself, believing that if you follow the rules, things work out. She was wrong. Banad was deported to a country that had ethnically cleansed his family. Now Stephanie is a single mother running a business on the brink. The mechanics they employed are out of work, and the pastors and congregants who voted for these policies are calling Banad's deportation a mistake and not Christ-like. Stephanie voted for the party that promised to protect families. Now she's asking, what about my family? What value is there in tearing a father away from his wife and baby? She wanted tough immigration enforcement, just not for her family. And now, she's finding out the hard way.
Why are you voting for Donald Trump? Number one reason.
Number one reason is I'm 81 years old. I've seen a lot of presidents. Donald Trump, the best president that I've ever seen. We need him back. We need the economy taken care of. Donald Trump's going to get rid of the folks that don't belong here.
We have 5 days till the election. You think Trump will win?
I believe Trump will win.
Well, I think he's going to win by a lot.
5 days to the election. You think Trump will win?
Obviously, if it was a free and fair election, I think there's no doubt we'd be talking a serious win here.
Who are you voting for?
Donald Trump.
Is it your first time voting ever?
My first election.
Why Donald Trump?
I think his policies are way better. Day one, no tax on tips, drill baby drill. He's going to try to stop Ukraine in 24 hours, try to settle everything. I think it's just a great choice.
Some voters who supported Donald Trump are now experiencing frustration, and they say certain policies are affecting their farms, small businesses, and affecting them as a family, their local programs, health costs, and all of that. They didn't expect this, and they are realizing that everything has become so hard for them at the moment, and they believed that voting this administration is going to make things easier for them. Instead, the reverse is the case right now. Everything is becoming so difficult, day by day, and this really isn't what they voted for, because a lot of them voted for policies that would help them and not one that will have an adverse effect on them. And one of such policies is the deportation policy. Now, you voted knowing fully well that your partner or your spouse is undocumented. What were you expecting, really? When Trump came out and categorically stated that there will be a lot of deportation, and all of that, what exactly were you thinking? So some of these policies are having an adverse effect on them, and they are feeling so furious about it. I'll let the videos roll and return with some more commentaries. Okay, guys, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. Well, a story continues. Do we remember where the Qatar government was giving Donald Trump a $400 million 747 and that hee-haw going on? Well, guess what is the return prize for Qatar for that 747 and what other things they must have done? Well, the United States government has signed a letter of acceptance to open a Qatar military base here in the United States. They want to come in and bring in and stage their F-15s. So the United States is going to have a foreign country from the Middle East open a base in Idaho. So it gets real interesting there. So was this part of the deal for the jet too? So that was the gift to the president, and then now this is the gift from the president. Qatar is building a military base and stationing 15 jets, or F-15 jets, in Idaho. Interesting. Do you think there's might be, they're tied together or something? I do.
Does anyone else find it interesting that they chose Idaho to install that Qatari military base? You heard me right. Yeah, now we're going to have a foreign military base on our soil for the first time. Now, do keep in mind that they actually do host one of our largest military bases on foreign land, but also keep in mind how much they have invested into the Great Trust. Also keep in mind how much they invest into our school system. And I'm not talking about elementary or high school, I'm talking about the universities. Think about the universities that have been fined heavily for not being, following those BDS laws or for being pro. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about who one of the biggest investors into the Great Trust is. I want you to think about the Israeli finance minister coming out and saying that the demolition phase had been completed and now it's time to figure out how to divide up the profits because the war has cost them so much. Now, who was one of those biggest investors? The ones that are putting the military base here. It's not about being left or right. I want you to see the bigger picture. It's all feathers of the same bird, and those wings spread globally. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for me? Well, think about how those Idahoan farmers weren't allowed to water. Think about the land that was up for grabs, but not for sale, not to you, not to me, but to entities. Think about who those entities belong to. Could it be to the ones who are actually running the show? Now, that's why I don't get mad about people saying that they're pro-Trump or, anti-Trump, because really, if you think about it, Trump is, when you walk into a car dealership and there's that friendly person who smiles and says, welcome in, how can I help you today? And here's what we can provide. That's Trump. That's basically all he's doing. He's not the one making the decisions or anything else, even though he says he is at the podium. Think about the ones who are actually running the show. Think about how far those wings actually spread. Now think about the fact that we are wading through mud, fighting daily to try to keep things on the up and up, trying to get more back to a, what do you want to call it, democratic process. Now, a lot of people might argue and say, we don't live in a democracy. Oh, you're absolutely correct. We don't. We should be, but we don't. Now, the difference between a dictatorship and a democracy is that our voices are supposed to be heard, which they aren't heard, and they haven't been heard in a very, very, very long time. I don't think you understand how far back this really extends. But think about how everything is about to vastly change for us. What this truly means. This is not, hey, look at us all working together. This is for the greater plan, the Great Trust. Think about all those sanctions put on the ones who weren't in agreement with the tariffs. Think about where the tariffs were being placed, the highest amount of numbers. Look at how those particular countries were actually the largest investors, aside from Qatar, into the Great Trust. Now, going back to the Hegel's principle, well, you can't really have a problem that everyone wants to solve unless you touch on it emotionally and psychologically and financially, which they've nailed to a T. But now that they have, well, of course they have a solution for the trade route. That would be the Great Trust. Now, I actually did do it. It's in my playlist. It's only 3 parts so far, explaining what this Great Trust is and how it connects to the Abraham Accord and of certain people who were starting to try to talk a few years ago. And side note here, I've been in the naughty corner so I apologize for my absence. I've also been dealing with a family crisis and some medical issues. But I'm back And we're talking big.
Okay, so we got a foreign army base going to be built in Idaho, and I ain't heard nothing from MAGA. People that was against immigrants and stuff like that, I ain't heard nothing from them. I've been on TikTok, and usually sometimes they still come on my For You page, but I ain't heard nothing. I would love to hear what they got to say about this. How they going to spin it? Can somebody tag me in the video? Because I honestly want to know what they think. That's your mans. That's your homeboy. Make America great again. What's going on? What's in your mind? Is this what you want? We ain't never had this done. We ain't had this done ever. This is the first time this has ever happened. We got bases in different countries, but there ain't never been no base in America. From the Middle East at that, because y'all get crazy over Middle East people. You know, it's just wild. I just really want to see a video where they explaining it or what they got to say about the situation. Somebody tag me.
What a lot of people fail to understand is that policies can have a ripple effect. You know, a decision meant to pressure one sector can accidentally squeeze another. For instance, we have the immigration enforcement. That can create labor shortages. Tariffs can raise prices of commodities, foodstuffs, raw materials, and all of that. Budget cuts, on the other hand, can affect services people rely on, if you know what I mean. Yeah. All these are just examples, of policies that can have a ripple effect on a country or on an organization, for instance, on a country, no matter who the president is. Now, the president came up during his campaign to say he's going to put up these policies. Now, these are the policies that are having a ripple effect. You voted him in, and you're enjoying the dividends of those policies. Okay, let me not be... Okay, you are enduring, not enjoying. You are enduring the dividends of those policies. A lot of things are not going right, and a lot of people are getting really, really frustrated and saying they voted an administration that is meant to fight for them, but it seems as though no one is fighting for them at the moment, and everyone is totally on their own at the moment. Now, a lot of them are disappointed. And, when people get disappointed, they don't stay silent. And that's why we are seeing a lot of people coming out, to talk, and all of that. What makes this moment stand out is how strongly many people once believed that things will dramatically change for the better. The contrast between expectation and reality can feel very, very disappointing, and that's what's happening in Idaho at the moment. Well, guys, let me know what you all think in the comment section. I'll be reading your comments down below. Please share your views, share your comments. What do you guys think about this discuss? Let the discuss begin.